What's going on, Geminites? It's your boy Gem Mint. We have a nice omnibus haul for you all today. If you're new to the channel, these aren't reviews of the storylines. It's more of an overview of the book, going over what it contains, looking at the construction and build, and things of that nature. If you're looking to purchase these type of books, check out our sponsor, cheapgraphicnovels.com. They sell them up to 50% off cover price. They have immaculate packaging with super fast shipping and great customer service. They also have a bargain bin where you can get titles up to 90% off the cover price. If you mention this channel in the memo at checkout, your next order will have free shipping if you're in the United States. So check out cheapgraphicnovels.com. And before we jump into the overview of these books, we do have a little giveaway going on. On our road to 100K subs, we're going to be giving out a couple of milestone giveaways. We have 2 full sets of The Boys Omnibus, volumes 1 through 6. So we're going to give away to 2 winners once we hit 92,500 subscribers. You just got to be subscribed to this channel and leave a comment below. Stay tuned to the end of the video and I'll give you more details on the giveaway. Alright guys, let's jump into the complete Witchblade hardcover volume 1. Witchblade is a character created by Mark Silvestri and was published under his own Top Cow Productions imprint, distributed through Image. So she was part of that extreme 90s creator-owned content boom. They did have softcover and hardcover compendiums for Witchblade along with Darkness, and I never was able to track down the Witchblade hardcovers, so I am interested to see how this measures up next to the Darkness compendiums that I do own. We'll do an overhead shot of that to compare, but before we do that, let's look at the binding here. So being that it's a smaller book, I'm not expecting it to have any kind of really big binding issues. It is sewn binding. The eye does raise up nice, giving no gutter loss. You have some nice shiny pages, so we're looking good as far as that. Let's take some overhead shots of Witchblade. Alright, so as promised, here is Witchblade with the Darkness compendium. As you can see, they're the same size. They are standard size hardcovers, so not as tall as an omnibus, but the compendium has a dust jacket, whereas this new Witchblade volume does not. So it does differ from the compendiums, if you guys wanted to know, but it's still a nice looking hardcover. So here is the cover. Here we have the spine. You see it's got the Image and the Top Cow logos, and here is the back. This book has a $50 cover price. It collects issues 1 through 19 of the original Witchblade series. It's got the 4 issues from Tales of the Witchblade, and it has the Darkness Family Ties crossover issues 9 and 10. You have all black paper in the front. Cover art by Mike Turner. And here we go, chapter 1. This is a series that I've never gotten into. I've seen the art growing up as a kid, but I just never had any of the issues. And look, very extreme 90s. They have a lot of flip sideways artwork here. Really, very Rob Liefeld-ish, right? So here you have Witchblade. And you have some great artwork here. See a lot of flip turn pages. Alright, so let's see if there's any extras here. It looks like they just ended up putting all of the covers on the back. We got some variants as well. Alright, from Marvel Comics, we have the Cloak and Dagger Omnibus. I've always been familiar with Cloak and Dagger because I grew up reading Maximum Carnage, and they played a small role in those issues. So in the mid to late 90s, I would read Cloak and Dagger stories here and there just because I was familiar with the characters. This book does collect a number of different titles that they were featured in, so we'll go over that when we do the overhead shots. But let's take a look at this binding. It does have a rounded spine. I know there's been some concerns with Marvel lately and their square bound spines. Also sewn binding. Nice flat pages. You don't have any gutter loss here. It moves very freely. So we're looking good in that department. Your typical Marvel paper stock, although the pages seem a little bit thicker than some of the more recent releases. Alright, let's take a look at it. Alright, here is the front of the dust jacket. Take a look at the spine. Volume 1, so it looks like there are plans to continue doing Cloak and Dagger Omnibus. I guess since they had the TV show, it was something that kind of went along with that. This collects their first appearance in Spectacular Spider-Man 64, also issues 69 and 70, 80 and 82, and 94 through 96. Their first miniseries, the 4 issues from 1983, Marvel Team Up Annual 6, Marvel Fanfare 19, New Mutants 23 through 25. Then they have their ongoing series, which lasted 11 issues, Doctor Strange 78. Then they had Marvel graphic novel, Cloak and Dagger / Power Pack. This was a book with a $100 cover price, but obviously through places like Cheap Graphic Novels, you get them significantly discounted. The inside of the dust jacket has some nice artwork with a little biography on the characters, some biography from the creators, Bill Mantlo, Al Milgrom, Ed Hannigan, and Rick Leonardi. We do have some graphics on the actual hardcover itself, along with the spine and the back. So this would be the 2 covers, the DM variant, and then the regular Omnibus variant. All right, nice splash page pinup there. Got your table of contents, and then we jump right into it. So kind of a compilation of all of their early stories. It doesn't have the aforementioned Maximum Carnage stuff that is collected in the Spider-Man vs. Venom Omnibus. But like I said, they are just supporting characters in that storyline. But I always liked Tyrone and Tandy. I always thought it was a nice Romeo and Juliet type of story. I love his cloak that you can use to teleport through the dark dimension. So his dark powers, her powers of light, was always made for an interesting team up. All right, let's see what we have in the back here. Some Marvel Age stuff. What looks like some pages, some interviews, old school stuff. And then we have some cover art. There's actually a lot of pinups in this one. Some Marvel Tale reprint covers. Look, original cover art and pages from Spectacular Spider-Man 64. It's a pretty expensive book in 9.8. Then you have other collected edition covers, remastered coloring and such. And that's it. All right, moving over to DC Comics, we have the Batman by Grant Morrison Omnibus Volume 3. This is going to complete his 7-year run on this title. This is really the Batman Incorporated Omnibus because it really just collects the 2 volumes of that series. I read and reviewed the first 2 volumes. I liked Volume 1 well enough, but Volume 2 I felt like it was a little lost. It was too heavily reliant on other titles that were going on at the time, not covered in the book. But all in all, I am happy to get the last omnibus to round out this collection. It does have the same hardcover as the other 2 volumes, although the colors might be inverted in one of those volumes. It seems to have the same type of paper stock. Very large eye on this ribbon here, so the pages do lay down flat. A little bit more of matte pages here, not as shiny. It has a little bit of a shine to it, but I wouldn't call it glossy. So all in all, looking good. Let's take a look at it from above. All right, in the front, cover art for the Batman Omnibus. Not really a big fan of any of the artwork here, man. I mean, I like some of the David Finch covers, but I haven't really loved everything about the Grant Morrison Omnibus. This one has a $75 cover price. Collects The Return, number 1, Batman Incorporated 1 through 8 from the first series, and then Batman Incorporated 0 through 13 from the second series, as well as Batman Incorporated Leviathan Strikes number 1 and Special number 1. This book only had a $75 cover price. Not much on the inside of the dust jacket, just a little Grant Morrison biography. This does have a afterword by Grant Morrison from an old 2013 collected edition, but no intro. At least the spines and the actual hardcover match the other 2 volumes, so I know collectors are happy about that. All right, here you have your splash page, your credits, your table of contents. Like I said, amazing cover here by David Finch. I don't know why they wouldn't use something like this for the cover of the Omnibus. And these first couple of pages were great, man. This issue really had me hooked as I was flipping through this, getting ready to stretch the spine and everything. So this first issue looks really strong. But man, there's a slew of different artists on this book, even different writers. And some of the artwork I'm not a huge fan of. It seems like Morrison really likes to work with artists with this style of drawing. Like the Frank Quietly artwork. Like this kind of stuff. But I will read this and knock out a review. I didn't read this in single issues, so I kind of had to play catch up on this series. This is right before Scott Snyder took over for the New 52. In the back, you do have some extras. Kind of like a behind the scenes look at this run, different sketches and whatnot. And like I mentioned, no forward, no intro, but it does have this October of 2013 kind of afterword by Grant Morrison himself. All right, and now we have, for the first time ever, a Spectre Omnibus. The Spectre, the Wraith of the Spectre Omnibus, to be exact. This is like the second iteration of the Spectre, and it contains stories from the late 60s to the mid-80s. I thought this was an interesting book. I'm excited to read it because I've only really read Spectre stuff in other titles. The paper stock here is more like a construction paper vibe. It is not glossy at all. It's very, I don't know, it almost looks like it's supposed to be comic book stock paper. So I don't know what you would really call it, but it just gives me that construction paper vibe. It does have pretty decent binding on it. It looks like the reams are very thick and pronounced. As you can see in the front end of the book, though, it doesn't really lay down flat by itself. You kind of have to hold it. But it doesn't suffer from any gutter loss, and I guess that's really the biggest issue. But it has like a thick ribbon, and overall has a pretty strong build to it. All right, front of the dust jacket. Looks great. There's a lot of cool stuff that they did with the artwork here, and I'll show it to you guys when I take the dust jacket off. This did have a cover price of $125. It contained showcase issues 60 through 61 and issue 64. Brave and the Bold, 72, 75, 116, 180, and 199. This was all bringing the Spectre back into the current era of DC Comics. He was there for the Golden Age, and then he came back here in the tail end of the Silver Age going into the Bronze Age. It collects the first 10 issues here of his ongoing series, plus Wrath of the Spectre issue 4, Adventure Comics 431 through 440, DC Comics presents 29, and Ghost 97 through 99. Now with this paper stock, this is a really lightweight omnibus. It almost feels like holding a novel. The dust jacket did some really cool things with the cover. I'll try to show you. So some things are glossy and some aren't. So the Spectre is glossy, but you can see down here below this gravesite is it's matte. Same with up here above. Now on the back you can see it as well with the blood splatter. There we go. So only the blood splatter in the Spectre has the gloss finish to it, even the little spots on the bottom, but the black part is matte. So I thought that was pretty cool. Nothing on the inside, just some artwork with the same kind of effect, which is really dope. And then I'm digging the artwork, man. You have stuff from Neil Adams, you have stuff from Gardner Fox, Jim Aparo, written by Michael Fleischer. And I think the artwork is awesome. It's right up my alley. I like that era of comics, pre-digital coloring and stuff like that. So here we go. That's your table of contents, matte paper. You have an introduction here by Peter Sanderson from 2005. This is the Return of the Spectre. And you can see, like I was talking about, that paper stock. It's kind of like it's meant to look like the comic books from that time, which I like. I do appreciate that. DC has been doing that with a lot of their Bronze Age omnibus, actually, now that I think about it. Joker, for one. But yeah, here you go. It looks like what you would expect out of a Bronze Age DC title. It's a little bit more on the mature end, because you're dealing with a character like the Spectre. Not your traditional superhero book. And here's the bonus gallery at the end. Let's see what it has. Looks like it has some pin-ups or some cover art. Some wraparound covers, actually. Yeah, so the Wrath of the Spectre covers, which are wraparounds. Very cool. You got the biography from the creative teams. And that's it. All right, and the last book of the haul is the first of a 2-volume omnibus set, Green Arrow, The Longbow Hunter Saga by Mike Grell, who was the writer and the artist on this title. This book is a thick book. It does have those thicker reams, kind of like the Spectre Omnibus does, but it's a completely different omnibus altogether as far as its build and construction. So this omnibus was a more darker take on the Green Arrow character, Mike Grell coming back to DC Comics after kind of going the indie route and having a conversation with Frank Miller that led him to this run. I don't know if he was inspired by Frank Miller, but I know he didn't want to touch Batman for at least a couple of decades after Frank Miller wrote Batman with The Dark Knight Returns. But this is a very similar type of realistic take. Oliver Queen does not have boxing glove arrows. It's more of a dark, gritty, street level story. And very nice artwork. Big panels, flat colors, very Bronze Age going into Copper Age artwork. Yeah, this is actually late 80s to early 90s, so more of that Copper Age artwork. It is a big omnibus, but as you can see, it lays down pretty flat. You have some slight gutter loss, meaning some of the artwork does get buried in the middle here, but the ribbon is not stuck to the back of the hardcover. It does have some give. It's just a very thick book with a lot of pages. As we get to the front, though, see, it's not as bad as that Spectre Omnibus. Only when it gets to the first couple of pages, you really need to hold it to keep it from closing together. But otherwise, I really like the artwork. Fills up the entire page. Let's take a look at it together. All right, the Green Arrow Omnibus. The dust jacket has very distinct art style by Mike Grell. It wraps around the spine and to the back. As you can see, this has a cover price of $150. Contains Green Arrow, The Longbow Hunters 1 through 3, Green Arrow 1 through 50, and it has a story from Secret Origins 38. So, Volume 1, chock full of issues. Inside of the dust jacket gives us a little quote here, and on the other side, a biography on the artist and writer, Mike Grell. Here we have the artwork on this glossy, shiny hardcover. Kind of reminds me of the Jeff Johns Green Lantern omnibus covers. Here we have the front and then the table of contents. And this is kind of how he sold this book to DC. Green Arrow as an urban hunter. So Mike Grell has a nice introduction here, which I read. Kind of gave you, where he was in his life at this time, where comics were at the time, and why he decided to do this run after leaving major comics publishers to do his own thing, his own indie creations as well as novels. Starts off very late 80s, very kind of punk rock looking. And as we go through the book more, you see the artwork kind of grows with it. But you're going to see a lot of mature themes here. This is not your gimmicky Green Arrow with all kinds of gadgets. It's the urban hunter. And it's not so much Green Arrow. It's more just Ollie Queen. But I love how the artwork takes up the whole page like this. I think it looks great. Mike Grell has a very unique art style that I kind of dig, actually. It gives me like DC Vertigo vibes. And this is published by Black Label, but I don't think it was originally under the Vertigo imprint. I just think it was mature content, which is why they published it under DC Black Label. But, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that. But I like the colors, like the pastels, the pinks and the yellows, and a lot of colors behind the panels. I think it looks awesome. Then you have an afterword by Mike Gold. You have some advertisements for the run, an interview. Talks about the characters, some sketches. You got some biographies on some more of the creative team. Dan Jurgens is there, Ed Hannigan, Frank McLaughlin, Dick Giordano, Julia Laquement, and John Costanza. Alright guys, like I said before, all you have to do to be eligible for these giveaways is be subscribed to the channel, leave a like on this video, and comment down below. Once we hit 92,500 subscribers, I'm going to pick a random video where I promote this giveaway, use a random YouTube comment generator to pick 2 winners. One winner is going to get the comic cover set, the other is going to get the show cover set. The first place winner picks which one they get. So make sure that you are subscribed, like, and comment below. Alright guys, I want to thank you for watching. As always, stay tuned at the end. We're going to have a playlist with my other Omnibus hauls. Stay minty fresh. Peace.